from Pandemic Legion, targeting that Armor Logi Guardian Oneros combo. Again, the most common ban combo in this AT.
And a really great way to try to block out that flagship.
Indeed. And the Tuskers are going after, at least until we get the Rabisu on field. The Tuskers choosing to ban the Barghest and the Fiend. Again, we saw or heard comments about the threat of that Fiend earlier. These teams are on the field now. So with these bans, Guardian Oneros, Barghest, Fiend, what do we see? No. Who wins the match? Fozzie. Super fast.
I'm going to go with Tuskers for this match.
He says Tuskers. That's on the board. Zarfox?
I'm going to go with Tuskers. PL, obviously incredible pedigree, but Tuskers showing some incredible piloting skills and a couple of misplays from Pandemic Legion. So I'm going to go Tuskers as well.
In what equates to the second match of this best-of-5 series, where Pandemic Legion holds a one-match lead, having progressed here through the undefeated bracket, we go to the booth where Chesser and Moderator are ready to begin commentating on the final championship, the championship match in the finals of this Alliance Tournament 14, Pandemic Legion versus the Tuskers.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finals with me, your host, Chesser, and Moderator. Let me introduce match 1 of PL versus the Tuskers. PL has decided to bring a Navy Scorpion, double Sleipnir, Scimitar, double Jackdaw, double Zvipple, double Manticores, Sleipnir's warping in at 0. Moderator, break me down on Tuskers' side.
Tuskers have brought their flagship Balgorn once again for the 4th match in a row. Harbinger Navy issued 2 Brutix Navy issues, a Hyena, an Astarte, a Crewer, an Executor, and a pair of Purifiers.
It seems that we've seen this setup before from Tuskers, and wisely, I must say, Suleiman warping in at range, not on top of those 2 Sleipnirs. That could have spelled doom if he would have warped in at 0, I think.
And the match has begun. Let's see what these Sleipnirs can do. Can they get on top of the Balgorn, or will they be webbed before they can close to range?
If Tuskers can keep both of those Sleipnirs at range and web, like you were describing,
what's Sully doing? He's not at speed. He's now gaining to speed.
I think he's a little bit slow off the gun, but he may not have been moving. Both Sleipnirs, however, are both webbed, neutered, and nosed. This is a full 4-guns Balgorn, by the way, so it seems to be the primary damage from both Sleps trying to go after it. But if he can keep those Sleipnirs locked down, Pandemic Legion's going to have a hard time getting their damage out and about on Tusker's backline.
Speaking of damage, we're seeing a lot of it coming onto the Svipal and to the Balgorn of Suleiman Shoah. The Svipal just barely holding, but no longer.
Ooh, Svipal down for Pandemic Legion. Casper was the first one to go. Normally, he's at least a little bit more, has a little bit more presence on the grid, taken out quickly, and it looks like Tuskers are just going to town on PL's entire support
wing.
Another
Jackdaw down, another Svipal being primary. The webs and the paint's on top of him. Sully now in about half armor. They need to keep him alive for these extra long-range webs that can hold the Svipals and the Jackdaws down at range, especially the Manticores as well.
Definitely. They're killing these T3Ds quick enough, but they need to start working on those Manticores as well. Suleiman is dipping into low armor, and if they drop their flagship Balgorn on match 1, I don't know if it's going to be worth it just for a win here. Pandemic Legion playing very intelligently. Suleiman trying to hold on with 2 Sleipnirs just bearing down on him. Can he hold? It's going to be close.
It doesn't look like it. Pandemic Legion has got the Navy Scorpion. He's got the Smart Bombs as another Svipal for PL drops. Those Smart Bombs are clearing off all the Rep drones on Suleiman Shoah. Suleiman slow off the gun to get away, allow the Sleipnirs to close on top of him and apply their full autocannon damage to him.
It seems that with the tick of go, that was 1 to 2 seconds of Suleiman maybe not having a heated MWD and pointing away, instead trying to prioritize getting webs and newts and nos on both of the Sleipnirs, may have caused him to slow down a little bit. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a flagship down at 7% armor, and if it goes down this early in the series, it's going to spell some massive problems for Tuskers dealing with the Fiend compositions we know PL can bring.
Yeah, that Balgorn's probably going to go down. Tinking is down into low armor, into hull, and he's now popped. That's all the logistics off for Pandemic Legion.
It seems that Pandemic Legion is making a trade here. They are just all-inning Suleiman's flagship, and there it goes. There it goes. Balgorn down. So Pandemic Legion, I think, making a smart call here, seeing the match not going their way, but I think they did something very, very powerful strategically.
Yeah, very powerful. So that Balgorn, right, is going to be the linchpin preventing Pandemic Legion from bringing their Fiend comp along with their own flagship Navy Scorpion. Pandemic Legion not choosing to bring their Navy Scorpion flagship in this match. Pandemic Legion playing the long game here, losing this one match, but possibly a worthwhile trade.
I think this right here is showing the depth, that strategical thinking, that level that Pandemic Legion brings to every single Alliance tournament. They have won multiple Alliance tournaments, have been in this type of situation before, these long types of drawn-out matches where they're not just thinking about one match, and when they see something going wrong, Pandemic Legion here, look at this. They may lose this match, but I think that killing this flagship, especially with this current meta, with shields being very highly prized with the flagship Navy Scorpion and the Fiend, I think this is actually looking very nicely for them in the later stages of the match.
I agree. Otherwise, Tuskers is playing this very well. The only slip-up I can really see from them was Suleiman not getting up to speed. I can understand he's under a lot of stress. He's already had to play excellently getting himself to this point. We expected him to have gone down in the first match of the series against Volta, and only just now dying. One of the Sleipnirs for Pandemic Legion just popped. The other one is then to about half shields and is running low on ASB charges. He will be falling shortly. The Navy Scorpion tackled.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this match is pretty much curtains. Tuskers came out with a very nice composition, completely stopping the autocannon Sleipnirs from doing anything, which we have seen earlier in the match just recently against Tuskers versus Volta. And Pandemic Legion making the as absolute best of it as they can go. Now, the Balgorn sometimes will fit a SIBO to be able to have a heated SIBO with a scan resolution script placed on it, so that way they can lock even faster off the go. But, you know, Suleiman splitting his webs appropriately, splitting his newts and his nosses appropriately, but a lot happens in those initial few seconds, and a heated MWD off of a Sleipnir, you know, they can get going really, really fast.
Yeah, we're playing very much a game of inches right now, and the difference between victory and defeat can be just making a play too early or too late, and that's something that happened here. As the last Navy Scorpion for Dan Kuhl goes down, I'm going to send it back to the man on the desk, the oldest man here, CCP Antique.
Thank you to Chesser and sorry, what was his name? Frauderator? No, I'm not going to say that. For commentating on that match, amazing play by Tuskers, but losing their flagship, serious damage done to them, and Pandemic Legion possibly showing a little bit of disrespect, as has been mentioned on occasion by our commentators, not bringing their flagship, that Navy Scorpion, just a regular old Navy battleship.
I think they had to come into this realizing that they had a significant chance of losing against that flagship setup, and that if they could make the trade, that would be great, but if they also lost their flagship, then the trade would be for nothing. So they decided to hold back, save it for later. We've seen them do that before as well. They also might have been afraid that Tuskers could have done what they have seen, where people bring in a bunch of stealth bombers, a really high DPS team to try to headshot the flagship, and they wanted to try to avoid that kind of situation.
Now, we haven't seen that be very successful in this alliance tournament. The one time that I really recall people bringing just that pure battleship bomber core, I mean, they were just wiped off the field.
Yeah, but it could be dangerous to kill a flagship before they get wiped out. Yeah.
I mean, that match was really interesting. So you could see that PL went straight for the BAL. So they had the early scram on the BAL. They lost, I think, 5 ships in the process, or 6 ships, including their scimitar, but were able to drop the Balgorn in the process, and obviously they retained their flagship for later matches. So it illuminates like some of the mind games and the strategies in the AT. They were obviously hoping that, you know, if we can pop this flagship, we're at a huge advantage in the later matches. We drop 1 game, but you know that's a big advantage moving forward, and they're here to win the tournament. You know, the loss of one match is really not a big deal, considering that they have their flagship now for the rest of the matches, and their opponent doesn't have one. And you could see they wanted it so bad. You know, everything was focused onto that flag, and they just didn't care. Losing the scimitar, losing all of their tackle. But, you know, you could say mission accomplished for PL.
I mean, obviously they would have preferred to also win the match, but coming in here and getting that flagship kill, I think they have to still be okay with that. They did come in because they entered from the undefeated bracket. They did have 1-win lead at the start of the series, which means we're just now tied. It's now 1-1, and effectively we now have a best of 3 for the rest of these matches.
Now, you mentioned it being 1-1. Certainly that is the case. Pandemic Legion sacrificing possibly a win in order to take down that flagship. Tuskers moving up 1. Now, this is not the first time that these two teams have faced off in this tournament. Tuskers being knocked down into the elimination bracket by PL just yesterday. What are they bringing to the table? What have they learned from that match that they show up with in the second match of today, where they really need to push ahead?
I think that's going to be the big question for the next rest of this series. They brought in the setup that they had with the flagship that they didn't show in the first series. Obviously, that's something that they wanted to save to the final day. They used it earlier today, and they used it in this first match. But now that the flagship's gone, we need to see what else they've got in their toolbox. What's their next trick? And I think PL is trying to push them to hope that there's nothing else in that toolbox. Because if there is, then they could pull this out.
They're going to fall back on the quadruple Navy battle cruiser core. Are they going to go back to double Floon? Are they going to use Sleps themselves?
Yeah, maybe go with their own version of the Navy Scorp Sleipnir team. It's a really strong setup. We know that they have a Fiend themselves. We know that they've got a number of Alliance tournament ships, and we could start to see some of those setups. And it's also possible that I'm pretty sure both of these teams have setups that haven't been shown at all yet.
Yeah.
And whether those are good or not, we'll see. PL does have a tendency to sometimes hold back on a setup right to the very end and have that setup fall flat on its face. But we'll see. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I mean, a lot of what all the other commentators in particular have been talking about is how the top tier teams will really save their end game fleet comp for the last few matches. So it's going to be interesting to see what they pull out.
Certainly would be exciting to see some of those Alliance Tournament ships take the field. We've already seen a number of Alliance Tournament ships destroyed in this Alliance Tournament, chiefly the Etana, the Cambion,
Adrestia yesterday.
The Adrestia yesterday, a rare appearance, really. I think 3 Etanas. Are we at 3 Etanas? Twitch will let you know. Someone in there has already brought up their spreadsheet, not the one they used to play Eve, the one that they used to track the AT. The stats for the match, however, are coming up on your screen just now. The damage there being dealt by Tuskers, 175,000 sent across the line, 130 returned by Pandemic Legion. Just unable to break up that core of, or possibly not even attempting to break up that core of Tuskers' ships, really just heading straight for Suleiman's Balgorn.
And that's always the danger when you only have the Tech 1 Logi. If this had been a match where the Tuskers had been able to bring their Tech 2 Logi, that flagship might have survived long enough for them to kill off the rest of the tackle, for them to kill off a Sleipnir and reduce the damage. But the combination of only a Tech 1 Logi with the Navy Scorp coming in there and smart bombing off all the rep drones meant that they were just able to burn right through the flagship.
Worth noting as well that this ISK lost is not actually accurate. That flagship BAL apparently was roughly 48 billion ISK.
Yeah, significant valuation on those officer mods, which our interface doesn't really allow for.
It's just a little bit conservative.
Yeah. It's a little conservative. Talk to me for a second. They ban out the Guardian Oneros armor Tech 2 armor logis. We've seen other teams go for the Augurer in that case and use that in their comp. In this particular instance, they went with the Executor. What are the advantages or disadvantages of going with that ship versus the alternative?
The Augurer is a little bit tankier, but it doesn't get the access to one of its big bonuses to cap transfers, because we don't allow cap transfers in this tournament. So I'd say in general the Executor is probably a bit of a stronger choice because of its mobility. It's a lot faster, it's lower signature, and it's able to take advantage of that. As for why people would bring the Augur, a little bit tankier, and also if you want to have heavier Amar presence to make jamming a bit harder on you.
Zarvox, you've been watching these matches from the back room all day today, not in the stressful conditions of the booth or of this broadcast room. Can you tell me a little bit about what people have been saying as far as what they expect to see from these matches? The kind of chat that you've seen in Twitch.
From Twitch chat, they all want to see AT ships and flagships get exploded. I mean, that's what they want to see. They want to see really expensive explosions at the end of the day. That's.
We're giving it to them early.
They just got a flagship.
Got a flagship going down.
We've got 48 billion.
You're very welcome. And I believe that there's a high possibility of us seeing some of those Alliance tournament ships making an appearance in future matches.
I'd be surprised if we don't see at least one more explode.
We're certainly going to see the teams